Hello and welcome back. The last two videos introduced you to the idea of hand switches behind the back and started to help you build up to the number of beats that we can do behind the back. Alright, this video I wanted to start off with the full clock face spin behind the back. Now if you remember the clock face spin, it was a 4-beat move. Okay, we had there, 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 there. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, beat at 3, beat at 6, beat at 9, beat at 12. All right, when we add in the idea of hand switches, if you recall from the second set, we were able to avoid having to reach across your body for that second, or for those 9 o'clock and 12 o'clock beats, and do the 9 and the 12 over here. So the clock face with the hand switches was a beat here, and then a hand switch, and a beat here, and then a hand switch. Beat, hand switch, beat, hand switch. Okay. The clock face with the 2 hand switches allowed me to avoid having to reach so much and helped me keep the motion closer together. All right. With those hand switches, we can move the whole clock face to the back using what we learned in the last 2 videos. All right. What we're doing for the full clock face . We're doing the same thing that we did with the 3-beat move, which was the beat with the blade pointing up, and then beat with the blade pointing down, except I'm adding another beat up top. So what I'm doing is a beat here to that upwards hand switch, a beat here, and instead of moving the saber real quickly back to here, I'm doing a beat here to this, and then a beat down. Okay, this is the full clock face spin behind the back. Blade moves more, I move less. All right, if we add in a 5th spin to that, or a 5th beat to that, we can end up with what's called the blade barrier. Now let me show you the blade barrier real quick, and then we'll talk about how it's just built upon the same thing. The blade barrier spin looks like this. The blade is pretty much just orbiting my body. It's called the blade barrier because it makes a shield or a blade all the way, or a barrier all the way around me using the lightsaber blade. Okay, now what that is it's the same thing that we just did, the back clock face, except I'm adding another beat to bring the saber back into the front. Right? I'm still doing that beat to a hand switch, beat, and instead of doing another beat and going up here, I'm doing another beat into a figure 8 and then a hand switch. All right, that might sound a little bit confusing. I'll do it very slowly. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, hand switch. 3, 4, 5, hand switch. All right, the hand switch in the back comes when the blade's pointing up. The hand switch in the front comes when the blade's pointing down. So it's this one again. All right, and that keeps the blade low, so it's never over my head. It keeps it just around my body, and it allows me to integrate in front of the body and behind the body. All right, that's the full blade barrier spin. Get used to that. Get used to passing that blade behind your back. You can start with some little drills just like this, just to get used to passing the blade behind your back. Okay, just back and forth, practice it both directions. You're using your left hand now, so that it's going to make things a little bit more complicated. But if you get all of that together, the blade barrier is a pretty impressive, fancy looking move. That with a little bit of practice, you can get moving at a decent speed. And later down the road, we're actually going to move with this, just as a sample of that. Remember that pivot step that we learned in set 2? Basically, right foot glued to the floor, pivot, left foot glued to the floor, pivot again. Okay, I can travel with the blade barrier by pivot, pivot, pivot. Back the other direction, pivot, pivot, pivot. All right, we'll be working more with that a little bit later down the road. That is an advanced version of it. But if you want to play around with it right now, just practice pivot steps with the blade barrier, but get the blade barrier first. Come back, join me next time, and we'll modify some more things.